Welcome to the Socialite series, where we celebrate and promote women who influence the world. We do this each and every week to bring you information, inspiration, and motivation from socialites who have something to say. I'm your host, Monica Karst. Now let's get this party started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tuesday, where we get to celebrate women and the amazing things that they do. I'm Monica Karst, your host, and you're tuned in to the Socialite series. Thank you for joining us today. I'm super excited. We're on episode number 13, Reclaim Your Authentic Voice, with guest host Arian Lise Newcomer. But before I introduce our guests, I want to remind you and invite you to join in our conversation by dialing into 248-629-0921. That's 248-629-0921. And we're here. We're always live, so you never know what you're going to get. So let's jump in. Today's guest host is Arian Lise Newcomer. She specializes in healing soul's voice to joyfully express its divine purpose, called the Voice Coach's Voice Coach. And because of the depth of her expertise in the physical, psychological, and spiritual aspects of voice, she's a former professional opera singer, Harvard graduate, massage therapist, and a published author. Arian, welcome to the show. It's an honor to have you on and to express your authentic voice this morning. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Monica. I am just delighted to be here, and I am so happy. This is episode 13. It's a lucky number for me.
Oh, I'm so happy because 13 is actually my lucky number too. So yay! It's going to be a fabulous morning with the two of us. So your history, Harvard graduate, opera singer, massage therapist, published author. That's a big list and a huge variety. So let's talk about some of this. Tell us first about the voice and healing and the soul's voice, healing the soul's voice. What do you mean by that? Give us a little bit of information on what you're doing now with the Voices Coach.
Yeah, well, as the voice coach's voice coach, people started calling me that because there's so much to what I do. It isn't just about having a better voice for your presentations or doing better at speaking, but it's about aligning your voice with your whole self. And to me, your soul's voice is both your embodied voice and your divine voice. So bringing those two together and bringing them through this miraculous instrument, which is our voice. You know, the throat chakra is the only chakra that makes sound. So what a mystical, magical thing it is. But to be able to express not just the human personality that's in this body right now, but to also bring through those aspects of your soul that need to come through on the planet at this time. And you and I have talked, and we need so much healing right now. If we're going to have a planet we can continue to live on, we have got to really make shifts. And part of that is being able to bring in those divine elements of you and bring them through in your voice so that we can all speak for the change that we need.
Absolutely. And you help people do this, but what's fascinating is your story of where you came to discover your own voice. You came from being an opera singer. And can we give everyone else a background? Like, you have a chapter in the Bold series, Bold is Beautiful book. And I happened to come across it and I read it. And I was very captured by your story of being an opera singer and not being able to hear your tone. So let's tell everyone else about that story. Give us a little background on that, because it's fascinating how you came through that. Can you give us a little bit of info on that?
Well, when I was singing and performing as a singer, I really felt that was the thing that Spirit had meant for me to do in this life. It was my greatest joy outside my kids. It was my most immediate access to the divine. It was the way that I felt I could really fully express my whole self. And then I lost my voice and I had to stop performing. So I had to completely shift gears. As part of what I had to do in order to reclaim my voice was get a divorce. Because part of the injury to my voice was acid reflux, which came from not being able to be truly seen and heard in my marriage and being devalued as a mother, as a person, having my speaking voice not be valued and really heard and understood, and myself not being really gotten in the marriage. And then I discovered that I actually couldn't hear when I wasn't on pitch in a certain part of my range. I would swear, I would hear that I was matching pitch with a piano or with someone else. But if I listened to a recording, I could hear that I was flat on certain notes. So this took me off on another whole journey of what the H is this, or what the F is this, more like. And that led me into a whole journey with acoustically engineered specialized music listening programs, which retrained my brain's ability to hear my own voice accurately again. So it wasn't because of a true hearing loss, it was actually a brain function. So I learned a tremendous amount about how the brain listens, and it's actually really, really complicated, which became a part of the teaching that I do with my clients, because you can't really open up your voice until you understand that your own brain doesn't hear your own voice accurately. So if you ever experienced, you probably don't have this now, but when you first started hearing your own voice on a recording, you went, geez, that doesn't sound like me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, what that? Is that me?
Yeah, who is that? That's because our brains are really good at fooling us about how our own voice sounds. So then I had to really wake up to the fact that Spirit had a bigger work for me in the world to do. It wasn't just singing, teaching, singing, performing. It was healing the soul's voice to joyfully express its divine purpose. And as I connected more and more to my spiritual guidance, all this stuff started coming through. And so your speaking voice, I had to claim my speaking voice as the voice of my soul, because I used to think it was my singing voice only that was the voice of my soul. So I had to claim my own speaking voice, because I couldn't sing for beans for years. It was a long journey to really recover my singing voice, which is really back now. But in the meantime, I claimed my speaking voice as the voice of my soul. And I realized, you know what? Every single person's speaking voice is the voice of their soul. And most people are not using their whole voice. So they're not expressing their whole selves, much less their whole soul into the world, which is what we're really here to do.
Right. Absolutely.
We're here to be the best, full, most authentic selves that we can be, and to do good in the world.
Right.
So,
well, and what I really resonated with when I read that piece was it really brought to life to me, like, because I've gone through a divorce, and I have I've been very open about this conversation in past shows, and to really not be able to hear yourself and to not even know what your voice sounds like, whether it be on the radio or recording, but even in your own mind. And when you start to think of voices, and not in the voices of people talking to you, but when you're thinking of your own mind and your own voices telling you things on a day-to-day basis, you start to wonder, whose voice is that? Is it something that you created? Is it your opinion and your decision in the simplest things as to what you want to eat, what you want to wear, what color of makeup will you wear? So, that was really
Right.
hard for me. And coming from an abusive relationship, that to me was just like, oh, it got me in the heart, just for the simple fact of I know what it's like to hear someone else's voice as my own thoughts. And to break that was
Yeah.
really, really hard, but oh, so liberating and necessary afterwards. And so that's why I'm so excited about you. Reclaiming your voice is not about just singing. You came from the singing background as an opera singer, which, that's even wow. But you are claiming your voice and your thoughts, and coming from your divorce, how it made you ill to not even be able to hear, which was so important in an opera singer's job. That was your duty.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, can you tell, like, what was your tell me about your personal story on that. Like, how did that make you feel once you overcame that?
Well, it's an ongoing process, right? Personal growth is a lifelong journey,
Oh,
really.
sure. Continuous.
So we get these huge lessons that we have to live through, and things that are devastating. And my devastating event was this loss of my voice, which I had thought was the voice of my soul. I thought it was my true purpose. I thought it was, my connection to the divine. And that was really devastating. But my devastation is not on a par with some of the people that I've worked with who've been through horrendous sexual abuse as children, or have had other kinds of loss, deaths of important people, etc. So, but all of these things are teachers for us. And the way that we make lemonade out of these lemons is to look and see, okay, what were the lessons here? So one of my big lessons was that I have been giving away my power. I have been giving away my voice to especially the men in my life. Mm-hmm. And this is a cultural story. And then as a mother, there's a whole cultural story around mothers, which is another huge devaluing. So we have had this cultural devaluing of the feminine for thousands of years on the planet. And this is a big reason why we're in such trouble with climate change right now, because we have not honored our planet as a living being and as a partner. Mm-hmm. And we have just treated her really destructively. But our culture also claims to really value mothers, but because all of the work that mothers do in a home, in caring for the home, caring for children, caring for elders, is unpaid, it is considered to have no value. Mm-hmm. And it's not valued in our GDP figures. It's not valued in any kind of economic policies. And so we as mothers feel devalued, and my ex-husband really devalued my worth as a mother. Mm. And one of the things he said during our divorce was that I didn't pull my weight in the marriage.
Oh.
So
when you had the hardest job in the world.
Yeah, all of the time and energy, put into raising kids who were really tricky. I love my boys, but they were, it was tough. And,
right.
And having this all be devalued because I didn't make any money doing it,
right,
was so devastating. And just how in the world do we women come back from crap like that? Because we've all had it. We're devalued kind of across the board in our culture, and it is shifting. It is shifting, but you look at the Fox News sex scandal, right? Sex harassment scandal. The stuff is still going on all over the place. And we also suffer from ageism. A woman over age, 40 to 50, it's inching up, but we're considered
60s, 70s, come on.
Right. So we I'm reclaiming my wise woman status as an elder, and I am not going to go gently into that good night. I'm going to raise a ruckus and
Hell
work
yeah.
and be a change maker as long as I'm living. So I
Thank
reclaim
you.
it for all of you too, all of you listening who are either 50 and older, or you're going to get there. I'm
Yeah.
reclaiming that status as wise woman elder for all of us.
And that's
And
fantastic.
those voices in our heads that you were talking about, some of those are cultural voice stories. So that cultural story that women's work in the home, the work of caring, has no value. That's just a story. So we have to claim our value as mothers, as caretakers, as um, as the divine feminine. We're reclaiming our aspect as part of the divine feminine. So
Right.
women's voices are urgently needed. Women's voices have been shushed and shamed and silenced for thousands of years. It's time for it to change. It's got to
Oh,
change now.
and I'm so thankful that you're here to help us. And I also want to bring to light just to kind of go over the background of like how it can happen to all of us, and we should not feel shamed any longer, and we should be able to know it doesn't matter where you come from. You had what, you took your junior year of high school, you took off to Ireland, is that correct?
Yes.
You went to Harvard. You, again, I mean, highly educated woman, you had already traveled before you got married. So if it can happen to you, it can happen to anyone. And then also, if you can turn it around, so can someone else. We just need to find the right person to help us along. And
That's
so I'm just, going into explaining how it doesn't have borders or boundaries. It can happen to all of us, and it does. And to be able to not be afraid to talk about it and use your voice, right?
right. Yes.
Yeah.
And to free your voice from the habits that you've created out of the stories that you've told yourself about how it's okay to sound and how it's okay to speak. So
Right.
one of those things is that women aren't supposed to speak strongly and powerfully. We're supposed to be nice. We're supposed to be inclusive. We're supposed to be gentle. And if a woman does speak strongly and powerfully, whoa, does she get a backlash
Mm-hmm.
that says, oh, she's being a bitch. Oh,
Yeah.
wow, she's too pushy, or she's too aggressive. So there are definitely cases when someone is being a
Yeah.
bitch.
Yeah. Oh,
but,
and you'll know.
but yeah, but we get the backlash usually no matter whether we are or not.
Right.
Because again, it's a story. It's a cultural story about how women are supposed to communicate. So this is another place where we have to reclaim our ability, not our ability, our right to speak powerfully, to speak with power and confidence in the way that men do and never get shamed for it.
Mm-hmm. And it's definitely a
So,
gender biased, we're affected by the way we speak because of how we've been shushed for so long. And some take, vengeance. Some women, like you said, are a little aggressive, but that's their voice. And men do it all the time. Men are very direct in business. Women use the can or what do you think or should. It's like, no, no, no. Go ahead, say what you want because that's, it's perfectly fine. Men do it all the time. And while men and women,
well,
we are different, we do have a voice that matters. And we need to be confident
exactly.
about that.
And so many of my clients have been in the position of being in a meeting, for instance, in a corporate meeting, and expressing an idea and having nobody respond
Mm-hmm.
to it as if she hadn't even spoken. And then maybe three or four people around the table, someone else, a man, says
Oh,
the same thing, and everybody goes, "Oh, what a great idea!" So
so then
there's
what would you
another.
do? Stand
there's
up and say,
well, I
that's my
would say,
idea.
yeah, no, to say thank you for bringing my idea back.
Ah, Okay.
So
Thank you for bringing my idea back.
thank you for bringing my idea back. Now let's talk about it. I'm glad you brought it back to the room. So it's making awareness happen without shaking your finger in their face, without the blaming, without the judging, because people aren't doing it because they're deliberately trying to silence women. It's completely unconscious. It's the water we swim in, it's the air we breathe. So we gently bring these things into consciousness and into awareness. And we keep continuing to speak out and speak up. And it is tricky because if it's your boss, they could retaliate. So it is tricky, and I'm not trying to whitewash it and say it isn't tricky. But how do we find the ways that we continue to insist that our voices be actually heard?
Mm.
So
Yeah.
enlisting an ally in the room could be someone, it might be another woman, it might be someone who is mentoring you, it could be a man, and say, I've been experiencing this in meetings. I would like to just bring it to the notice of the meeting without having it be a big issue and create a big conflict. But I want my voice to be heard. So I would appreciate it this next time when I experience this, if you can be watching and listening to see when I say something and it's completely ignored, and then around the table a man says it and it gets taken up by the meeting. Let's just bring that to awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is actually an important piece of gender bias, and many companies are now paying attention to gender bias.
Yeah, so, absolutely. So that's like in the work. Oh, I must say
that's to say, tone of voice is everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And what are some other things? That's the workplace. What are some day-to-day things that we as women start to do to reclaim our powerful voices each day without pointing our finger and being the bitch? Say, for instance, give us some tips. What are a few things that we can do to encourage, ourselves and others?
Well, one of the things that I do with my clients, and I love to suggest this because it's just really fun, is to get out some Dr. Seuss books and start reading out loud and play with different character voices, play with being really angry and sounding like a little kid and sounding like a big deep voice, and because your voice has so many more capabilities than you use on a daily basis. So you need to increase your expressive range, and the expressive range, most importantly, that you allow yourself to use. Because again, we have these habits, we have these voice stories that'll fool us into thinking we're using a lot more expression than we are. It happens so much with my clients all the time. They think I ask them to try for way over the top. And they go,
is that me, or did you just cut out?
I'm still here.
Oh, you're still there. Oh, okay. You're back. You're back. So playing with Dr. Seuss, that's fabulous. Okay.
And let the inner child parts out to speak, because they are part of what is going to bring back your creativity, bring back your full authentic self, call in your soul's voice. All those parts that have been shut down, silenced, or shamed got to come back. So a great way to do it is to play with Dr. Seuss and exercise your voice. Your voice is created with muscles and resonance. So exercise it and give yourself permission to go what you think is way over the top, which is probably just right.
Fantastic. I'm trying to think of a good Dr. Seuss one to throw out there. I was like, I'm thinking like, oh, the places you'll go. Today is your day. Your mountain is waiting. So get on your way.
You can use that one. Green eggs and ham is good if you want to practice being angry and allowing your voice to use anger. The Cat in the Hat is fun. you know.
Oh, there are so
So,
many. Yeah, the like truer than true. The one about today you were you, and I can't remember the rest, but that's truer than true. Oh,
right.
good. Now I'm going to be getting all my Dr. Seuss books out now. Thank you. That's
You're
fantastic.
welcome. Yeah.
So let's tell everybody where we can find you. Where are you? How can you help and give us your website address, all that fun stuff? And do you have anything coming up? Any type of events or classes or retreats coming up anytime soon?
I don't have anything scheduled yet, but I am working on doing sort of a day-long retreat, and this can be one-on-one or with a small group of women. I live in this beautiful land up in the mountains above Capitola in SoCal, and we would play with opening up the voice through body movement and vocalization. We will play with we'll play with grounding
Yeah,
and
play.
meditation, learning to tune into your own higher guidance, and then we'll take a visit to my spirit trees, I call them. I've started connecting with some of these huge trees on the property, and there's a grandmother redwood that's just enormous, that's only about a 10-minute walk from my house. And she
Yeah.
has tremendous wisdom to offer. And then at the end of the day, we'll make a soul collage card to um, to represent your experience. So soul collage is another whole thing that we don't have time to go into. But
Yeah,
I also my
that's
website.
amazing.
Yeah, so if you're interested in that, you can email me, Ariana, at ariananewcomer.com, and that's my website, ariananewcomer.com. And I also have a free gift right now, which is my Healing Your Soul's Voice guided meditation and sound healing. And that's available at ariananewcomer.com/healing your souls, no apostrophe, voice meditation. So Healing Your
Okay,
Soul's Voice meditation. I know that's long, but sorry, I didn't have time to do a shorty to hook up to
not a
that.
problem because what we'll do is we
Yeah.
always put all your information and your links on the Socialites Facebook page. So make sure to go and visit, like, comment, share Ariana's information, and it will all be there. So we'll put that on there afterwards.
Yeah. So
Great.
that meditation is designed to energetically align your chakras so that you're doing what I was talking about at the beginning, combining your embodied voice with your divine voice into the throat chakra and being able to speak that into the world.
Fabulous. And now for someone like me who I've found my voice and I pretty much don't shut it off anymore, how about going on to the next step of singing? I'd love to learn how to carry a tune. Do you do that as well?
I do.
All
I do.
right.
And I teach some lessons in Santa Cruz on Mondays, and I do teach at my home in the mountains, which is 25 minutes from downtown SoCal. But people do come up here, and I specialize not just in regular singing, but also in assisting voices that aren't working the way they used to. So voices that might be damaged. Some of my clients have had surgeries that changed their voice, like not voice surgeries, but abdominal surgeries
Okay.
can change your voice. And others have had a situation where all of a sudden they're starting to use incredible amount of tension and their voice just isn't coming out well for them anymore. So it's a combination of hands-on work and the singing technique. So
Great. Okay, so you've all kinds of goodies for us. So fantastic. Well, Ariana,
yeah.
thank you so much for being on. Is there anything that you would like to end with today? Anything that burning on your tongue that needs to be said so that we can hear your authentic voice for one last moment?
Yes, I am going to call all of you into full authentic presence. I call you to speak in your whole soul's voice for the healing of humanity, for the healing of the planet, and for the gift of your soul's purpose into this world.
Fantastic. I love it. Thank you so much. That's a wrap for today's show. And I want to thank you again, Ariana Newcomer, which will have all of her information on the Santa Cruz Socialites Facebook page. To thank our producer, Dominion, for taking care of us each and every show. And to all of you for tuning in and following along and listening. Thank you. This is Monica Karst reminding you every day is a day to celebrate. Cheers. Woohoo! Thank you for tuning in to the Socialite series. To find out more, visit us at santacruzsocialites.com and monicakarst.com. Until next week, be seen and be heard, and get out and shine your social light on your community.